Hi there, and thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. We feature those who are in the process of overcoming or have overcome any type of life encounter, life obstacle that at the time seemed to be almost insurmountable. With this podcast, we have three objectives in mind. Our first objective is we want you to know with a confident resolve you are not alone. We want to work with you. We want you to know there are others who are working with you, who want to help you through whatever you are encountering, and together we will get through whatever you're experiencing.
Our second objective is there are multiple options for any life encounter you are facing. We want to help you develop a resolve that there are various options and solutions to any life dilemma.
Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you're encountering something that was possibly a decision you made sometime in the past, and if you had the opportunity for a life redo, you would make a different decision. We want to help you with those critical thinking skills that can help you make an informed decision and not encounter what you're going through at the moment. We are the Cooper Culture, a veteran-owned business. We work with business personnel and families to develop and sustain connected relationship cultures within their families and organizations. That type organization is one where people feel wanted, appreciated, and genuinely a part of that organization. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty, who is helping me facilitate this podcast. Today we feature Andrew Elliman, who comes to us with a very interesting life story. He tells us about being a truck driver, which is, at the time of his life, was a lifelong inspiration. But after a while being a truck driver, he thought, no, he wanted to get into sales. Interestingly, he encountered some people who told him, no, I can't imagine you ever doing sales. But his attitude at the time was mindset. I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to do what I feel I have the talent to do, and by golly, he did achieve and is doing very well with sales. That attitude of, or mindset of, I'll prove you wrong, he has taken to a level where he wants to benefit other people in helping them to say, you can do what you want to do when you have the talent to do it. He has climbed mountains. He's gone through, he recovered from earthquakes, and incredibly, a journey that he's going to accomplish in 2 years. And I'm not going to explain what it is. Listen to the podcast to know what that is. It's something that, oh my gosh, I couldn't possibly believe anyone would even attempt that. But he has such an inspiration about his humbleness to reach other people, to help them believe in themselves. Yes, you can. Marty, what are some takeaways we got from Andrew?
This podcast is amazing. Andrew's story is so inspiring, and the fact that he said he didn't know how to swim, was scared of water, but he jumped in and learned it, and he accomplished an amazing story. And his heart, you see that his heart is about helping others, helping his charities. It's a podcast that you would want to listen to several times.
He is an inspiring person. Listen, let's learn together, and let me know what you think of this podcast and others. Let's go. Andrew, it's great to have you with us. Our listeners are going to be intrigued with you. You're a person, in the daytime job, you're a communicator. You work with companies to communicate and just help them with that business. But our listeners are going to be particularly interested in what you do outside of your normal job. You're a climber, a swimmer. You have done things that people might aspire to do, but just haven't gotten around to, that don't have the willpower to do. Andrew, when I first heard of some of the things that you have done, I became totally intrigued, and I know our listeners are going to be as well. So, Andrew, Tell us just some of the things you have done, and you've even set a world record. And our listeners are going to be very interested in how you've overcome various things, resilience, and just a lot of topics we can talk about. Andrew, it's great to have you with us.
Well, thank you, Ron and Marty, for having me on your show. And thanks for the introduction, actually. So, yes, apart from having a day job that's very busy and it's many hours from morning to night because of the time differences I'm working on around the world, I do have another passion. My passion is proving people wrong a little bit, but actually taking on challenges that people wouldn't expect me to take on, especially as I don't look like an athlete and I don't look like the type of person that would take these type of challenges on. But over the years, I've taken on Everest, which is probably one of the biggest ones that you can take on, not once, but twice. Yes, I do have a world record, which I imagine we'll talk about a little later on. But also, I like overcoming fear. So my biggest fear at the age of 48 was water. I couldn't swim at the age of 48. And there's an old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, I disagree with that. I think life starts whenever you want it to. And I think anything's possible with the right attitude. So at the age of 48, I couldn't swim. Biggest fear was water, and so I learned to swim the English Channel from England to France. It took me on this amazing journey, but things are never as straightforward as you like to think because there's always complications between everything that goes on, if I'm honest.
Andrew, I am intrigued with one aspect of your life. That what was it, if you can point to it, that was a part of you that said, I will prove you wrong. You don't believe in me, I'm going to prove you wrong. Now, maybe I may not be using the words you would use, but is that something, an attribute you've always had with you, or did you have to develop that trait?
Yeah, I think it goes back to work actually. When I started in the relocation industry, I started off in the removal side, and I used to drive the trucks and delivering people's household goods across Europe. And I got to see all these wonderful different countries, not as a tourist, but as someone who was working. And 12 years into being on what we call on the roads of driving and doing the deliveries, I decided that I wanted to step into a sales role, into more of the business development roles within the organization. And at that time, everyone, I would say, well, not everyone, but a lot of people laughed and said, well, you don't normally step off from driving trucks to going into selling to big organizations and big banks that are around the world to sell the relocations and such. And I wanted to prove people wrong. So they gave me the chance. And there I am 40 years later. I'm headed up Europe for business development in this area. Selling to some of the biggest organizations in the world, giving advice on global mobility. So that's just one side of it, but that led me on to the things that I do now outside of work. So when I had the chance to climb Everest, I put a 5-year plan together to do it because one, I didn't have $50,000 to do it. You can't just take that out your bank account. My wife would divorce me. So and also, I wasn't fit enough to do it, and I wasn't a climber. And you could say, well, how do you turn that into becoming someone that can climb a mountain, especially Everest? So I put a 5-year plan in place. And through that 5-year plan, what I found was my determination to stand on top of the world, if you like, led me into different areas. My career took off like you wouldn't believe. I went from salesman to head of UK sales to head of European sales within months because I had a different view of how we were going to get there. And then at the same time, I had lots of people who doubted me when I said I'm going to climb Everest, and 5 years later, there I was standing on Everest, proving people wrong as I was attempting to go to the summit. Now, I always talk about the summit, what I thought it was going to be is not what it always turns out to be. And for me, unfortunately, I didn't make the top of Everest. I was caught in the worst earthquake in 2015 which was life-changing for me. It was a bit of a light bulb moment, if I'm honest, because there I was doing probably the most selfish thing I could do in the world, leaving my family, going off to climb a mountain for my own ego. That's what it all comes down to, my own ego, to stand on top of the world. But what happened on that day when the earthquake happened, there I was at advanced base camp, trying to make my way up to the next stages, and the earthquake hits, and in 40 seconds everything's over, and it turns into a rescue mission. You know, we knew that base camp was wiped out. There were people dead on the mountain. There were people all across Nepal that had died because of this. I think the stats were 9,000 people died that day in that earthquake. And it was two thoughts. One, I'm not going to stand on top of the world, but that was my own selfish ego part of it. But then two, how can I make a difference to all these people that have lost their houses, their lives, their family, their friends? And so I started raising money for a charity over there, Community Action Nepal. And we worked together to raise money to rebuild some of the schools and some of the houses, and just in general try and make a difference to these people in the mountains that their whole life is built around the mountain. So that took me on a different path completely. And that led me back to Everest in 2018, when we went back to break the world record for the highest dinner party, 7,000 meters on Everest, which is the flattest platform you can put a table and chairs in the world. So we knew if we broke that, no one else could break it after us. So the idea was to put a table and chairs up there, dress up in tuxedos. The ladies had dresses, etc. It was a way of raising more awareness to raise money for the charities that we were choosing by that time. So we broke that world record, and we got a Guinness World Record for that. And I suppose at that part, I started to realize that you can conquer anything if you want to. You know, if you really want to, long as it's within reason and it's not hurting anyone or damaging anyone in any way or any aspect of that. You know, I think most things are possible, but you've just got to build the right resilience, the right team, the right response, bringing in sponsors at the right time. And it just led me down another path that, you know, there are so many things you can do. And that's why in 2018, when I couldn't swim and I was scared of water, I decided to announce that I was going to swim the English Channel and take on that task. Now, that was by far much harder than all my training for Everest, if I'm honest. You know, I had to take my fear away of water, which was easier said than done. But the way I did that was I parked fear over to my left and focused on what I was aiming for, swimming to France. And then I had to learn and train. And I remember joking with my wife at the time, when she said, "Are you crazy? You can't even swim. I've known you all your life. You don't like getting in water." And I said, "But how hard can it be? I've just got to learn, train, and be fit enough to do this. Like, I can overcome my fear to do it." And I joked and said, "What's going to happen? I'm not going to get caught in an earthquake like I did on Everest. What could possibly go wrong?" Well, a year later into my training, I had to eat my words because we headed into a pandemic and everyone closed doors and everywhere shut. Where I was training in a swimming pool, it all closed. And everyone said, "You've got to give it up or, you know, postpone it for another 3-4 years." And I was like, no, that's not happening, because the charities I was raising money for at the time, there was 2 charities. One was Community Action Nepal, which I was attached to with the Everest side of it. But I was also raising for a cancer charity as well. And I just thought, no, those people need money more than ever. So what I did was in the pandemic, I bought a outdoor swimming pool. It was like one of those adults at paddling pools, I like to call it. It's 7 meters by 3 meters. Put it in my back garden, and I tied a bungee rope to a drain pipe, and I used to swim in static swim with a bungee attached behind me in all weathers all through the winter. And then when it started to ease, the swimming pools, etc., were still shut because of the pandemic. There's a river not far from me in Bedford, so I went to the River Great Ouse in Bedford. And and this is one thing I don't recommend anyone should do, but I did it, was they always say never swim on your own in the river because if you get into trouble, well, because of the pandemic, I didn't have that option. So I used to get in the river and I would swim near the edge and swim 2 miles up and down the river every day, right through winter. There was a couple of times that became a bit dangerous because of the currents and everything, but I got used to the water and how to handle it, which was incredible because I couldn't swim a year earlier to that. So there I was now doing things that not normal swimmers do. They don't get into rivers, especially these ones here. And it led me on this whole path. And that's how it's all transitioned to where I am now.
Andrew, I am interpreting what you're saying, and I'm going to put it in my own words and correct me if I'm wrong. But you have the root of this was determination. I will. Now, part of that I will is I will prove you wrong. Who knows? The 5 people or so who may have said, you'll never do that, Andrew. You're not cut out for that or whatever. Your attitude at that time might have been, I may never change your mind. You may never believe in me, but internally, I will prove you wrong. The longer term motivation, what I'm hearing from you is you want to have an outreach to others who may not believe in themselves. You want to be a point of inspiration to others that you too can do whatever you set your mind to. You can overcome whatever adversity you may be facing. You engage in charities because that I sense that is where your heart is. You want to reach out to people and you want to be able to prove that, okay, I have done it. And that certainly establishes your credibility to others who are going through various challenges. So you've got the credibility to help others through and help them develop resilience. Andrew, I don't know that what I just said is entirely accurate, but that's what I'm taking for what you're saying. You have a great character trait.
Thank you. And I think you're right. I think for me, it's all about making a difference. And I think no matter how small we make that difference, long as you're making a difference, I think that's the big part of why we're here on this planet, to be truthful. So I've just actually wrote a book as well, which is all about Everest and the channel and what I went through. And the main thing that sort of I wanted to put in the book was about resilience and how there are so many things that will get in your way when you try to do things. So accept what happens, but find another way to do it, And I think anyone who reads the book, and I've had some quite good reviews at the moment of people saying, wow, that reminds me of what we did. Not the same story, but we had something like this that happened. So they relate to the book in a different way to what a typical adventure book would be, I imagine. Yeah.
Yes. I want to ask you to reflect back at an earlier age. I don't know how far back, but you drove a truck at one point.
Yeah.
At that time, did you think, well, maybe this is what I'm destined to do? This is all I'm capable of doing. Did you feel that, well, maybe not yet. I'm not capable of doing what the rest of my life has proven you can do? I'm asking Andrew if you felt somewhat downtrodden.
No, to be truthful, when I got into the removal industry, I was a packer. I used to pack all the furniture up, go into the houses, do the removals.
Okay.
And I wanted to drive trucks. I absolutely wanted to drive trucks. So I was one of the youngest in the company at the time. At the age of 21, I had a heavy goods vehicle license. I could drive the big trucks, and they took out special insurance for me. I was lucky. The company there took out special insurance for me because I was so young to be driving these trucks. And it's like anything. When I reached that point of being able to drive the trucks, I then wanted something else. I then realized that I wanted to progress in my own career. And I think that's why I sort of saw the salespeople, if you like, driving their fancy cars, and and I thought, well, I can do just as good as them. I'm not selling, I'm just telling people what they actually need, because removals is straightforward, really. You've got to know logistics, you've got to know how it's packed, and you've got to know what they need the other side. And so I knew all that because I'd done it firsthand for 12 years. So I fell into sales quite easily because it never felt like, it still doesn't feel like sales, if I'm honest. I just advise people, this is what you need. And I think people trust me from that perspective. So going back to your question about, did I feel like that when I was a truck driver? When I was a truck driver, I wanted to be a truck driver. that was my goal. But then, like anything, you get to a point where, okay, I've hit this goal. Where do I go now? And I think it was only when I was 35 was when I started to get interested in the Himalayas and how to go climbing. And I've climbed quite a few mountains in the Himalayas since. And I think at 35, there was a pinnacle moment. Both my children were growing up, and all of a sudden I had this, like, they didn't need me so much. You bring your children up, you devote your time to your children as you should, and at some stage they grow up, and you put them on a pathway to lead their own lives. But when that happens, there's this whole, like, a little bit of a void in your life, because all of a sudden they don't need you no more. Right? I say that, but they still need you, but they've got their own pathway. So at 35 was a time where I could have gone two ways. One, at 35, I was much heavier than I was now. I was enjoying life, but at the same time, I was becoming a bit of a couch potato at the same time. And it was like, what do I do? Do I sit and become an armchair traveler and just read about these people traveling, or do I actually go and live it and see whether I can enjoy life to the full? And then I realized that the possibilities are there, and I couldn't have done all this without the support of my family, if I'm honest. It's really important that you get support in many ways. I think family is one of them. The company you work for needs to support you as well, because obviously, like, there's a benefit to them as well, because of all the things I've done. I get introduced to quite a few people that I'm trying to target for sales as well. So it's a funny sort of roundabout way of, like, being different in a room is, saying about all the adventures that you've done. So, and then I suppose coming full circle, having done the Everest and the Channel, now having wrote a book, I never thought I would write a book. I never thought. And I brought the book out 10 years after the earthquake. So it was a way of, like, my homage to what happened then to what's happening now. And the book was just like climbing Everest as well, or training for the Channel. You had to condition yourself. I had to condition myself to get up at 5 a.m, put an hour ahead to do my book, then go and walk the dog, have a shower, and get ready for work, to get the book finished. And it took me 3 years to write it, but I managed to get it done, and it's out there now. So it's just, it's that whole, how do you approach life, if you like. And I've got many more challenges coming up in the future. So I've got different things that are being planned at the moment. So hopefully I can carry on to do these things and try to inspire people. But what I've really realized is, and having fallen into doing some motivational speaking over the years, I don't really like the word motivational, because yes, it may be motivational, but there's more to it to me. It's more about engaging with the people in the audience to make them realize that you can do these things. It's not impossible like everyone says. And I think a lot of people just need that little switch inside them to take that chance and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this.
I want to take a very brief moment to tell you about myself, the Cooper Culture, a certified veteran-owned small business. I am a retired lieutenant colonel serving the Air Force for 22 years as an F-4 pilot, commander. I have 300 combat missions. I specialize in executive leadership training, team building, and workplace culture, where we help businesses to develop a culture of loyalty, trust, and by developing personality traits and personal strengths, we can help identify those traits that support the company's objectives. We do this through half-day and all-day training shops. I'm also a public speaker where I welcome the opportunity to speak with your group to help you develop your team to the point where people are loyal and they know exactly how they fit in the organization and contribute to your strategic objectives. Through that, you will have a very profitable company and a psychologically safe space where people know they can freely discuss everything about the company themselves, and we are always working together to progress. Contact me at ron@thecooperculture.com. Our website is thecooperculture.com. Look forward to the opportunity to speak with your group, work with your group, to take your group to the next level to where we soar together. Let's work together. I'll tell you, I'm right there with you. In the context of motivational versus inspirational, I would rather inspire people. That to me is long-term. Motivational might last for 20 minutes type thing. Marty, what do you think?
I want to ask you, as a child, were you of the mindset, I'm going to prove you wrong, I'm going to do it? And how did your parents encourage you?
Yeah, so I think as a child, I had a good, happy childhood. I've got two older brothers. My parents were very traditional. My dad was a hard-working man. He worked on the railways. He was in the army as well before that, and he was always, he always allowed us to do what we wanted to do. He encouraged us to follow our own dreams, for sure. My mother was the one that gave us our sense of humor. I always say, she always said, make a joke of everything and you'll see a funnier side of things. And it doesn't matter how serious it is, there's always some kind of humor there. So she always gave us that. And I think as a child, I think, dare I say it, as a child, I was a very large child. So I was at school, I might have been teased at school for my size. And I think you build a resilience up from that. I think that sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with being that size. Like, we know that. Children, though, can be very cruel at times. We know that. But I think when you are like that, and a larger child, I think what happens is you gain your sense of humor very quickly, because you have to shrug these people off. And I think that does condition you in a way to then become better as you get older, to respect people for who they are, not what they look like or anything like. So I think from that, I think that helped me grow into the person I am. But believe it or not, when I was younger at school, I would hardly say a word to anyone. I was quiet. I was really quiet. It wasn't till I got into my late teens that I started to find my voice. And it was only when I started work, I don't stop talking now. So
well, no, we're glad that you have overcome that part of the past. Marty and I have each, in our own way, have overcome. But you mentioned you've got some bigger challenges coming up that you are going to conquer. What are they, if you don't mind sharing with the audience?
Yeah, so I've got a very special one that's coming up in a couple of years, which is I'm going to attempt to cycle a penny farthing bicycle. So a penny farthing is the one with a big wheel and a little wheel, the old antique style. And I'm looking for sponsors at the moment to do this, but I'm going to cycle 100 miles across an ice lake in Mongolia.
Wow.
Obviously, hopefully, airspace and everything is open by that time and the world settled down a bit by that time. But that's the aim. That's the aim for the next big expedition. Will be out in Mongolia, and we'll see how that all goes.
Now, is there conditioning that goes with that? I mean, very special conditioning, or is it
Yeah.
just general nutrition that keeps you going.
Yeah, so there's quite a few things. The bicycle itself, because they're very thin-wheeled, I've got to get it designed to be a fat tire version, which is easier said than done, because the wheel itself is a 54-inch wheel, so you can imagine how big this bicycle is.
Right.
So there's no real bike builders that make wheels that big, so it's got to be really professionally made to be able to go on the ice. From a stamina side, I mean, I'm used to cold conditions anyway, but it could be anything down to -30 when I cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be on ice, so that makes it more difficult. And I'm sitting high as a horse,
Yes,
on my bike. So there's that side of it. And there's lots of things to think about. I mean, I'm trying to get a camera crew at the moment. On top of this, I'll be doing 100 miles over 4 days, so 25 miles a day on the lake. But at the end of each day, they'll be cutting a hole in the ice, and I'll be submerging myself under the water. And on the second day, there'll be 2 holes, and I'll swim under one and come out the other. And then on the fourth day, there'll be 4 holes, and I'm going to try and attempt to swim underneath all 4 to the 4th hole in one go. And the reasoning behind this is because, like anything I do, there's got to be a meaning behind it, no matter how crazy. And I'm trying to raise awareness for mental health awareness. So I'm going to be working with some mental health charities, and I'm going to plunge myself into the cold and dark under the ice to raise awareness of what's above the ice and not spoken about. So that's the whole sort of perspective that I'm trying to give back from that.
Oh my gosh, Alan. I mean, riding a bike on ice is one thing. Swimming in under ice cap, that's beyond anything I can
it's
imagine.
Crazy, isn't
it? It is. Oh my gosh, I would. That requires, oh my goodness, mental conditioning. You can't stop between. You have to pace yourself, and you have to know exactly where the next hole is to come up and to condition yourself for being in that cold water. Oh my gosh, that's beyond anything I could think of.
And
I want to ask,
yep.
How does your body adjust to that cold water?
So I learned that taking on the English Channel. So when I swam the English Channel, I swam in Speedos, the little shorts that you wear, swimming shorts. Mm-hmm. And to be able to qualify, you have to swim the channel just in a pair of Speedos. That's all. So the water temperature was 14 degrees at that time. So
oh, wow.
When you're swimming like for 5 hours, like I did, you're constantly in that water. If I stopped to get food, when they used to feed me off the boat, I had 30 seconds to get the food down me and get swimming again. Otherwise, hypothermia kicked in. That's what that was like. But you train your body. So what you do is you start to take dips in cold water on a daily basis. So your body gets used to that. And what you do, when you first do it, I remember the first time I went into a very cold lake, and you could feel your heart was burning because it's rushing the blood to your heart to try and warm up the heart. The body will only protect the heart. That's why you get frostbite in your fingers, because it takes the blood from your fingers and from your feet to protect the heart. Like, that's what it's trying to do. So what you have to do is condition your blood to still flow around your body. So there's everything from breathing techniques that you can do, which I've taken courses on breathing, which sounds funny, but there are courses you can do on breathing. But also it's that conditioning your body to be relaxed going into a cold environment. So the way I see it with the ice lake, everyone says it's going to be freezing cold, but the way I see it, and this in my mind, and this is not scientifically or anything, but in my mind, it's like, well, surely it can't be colder than what it is outside. If it's -30 outside and the ice is frozen, well, water freezes when it's really cold. But underneath the ice, it's not frozen. So it's got to be warmer in my head than it is above. Now that might be total rubbish, but that's how I'll be training my brain to think, okay, I can get into the water, I'll go under the ice and then come out. And I will have a diver in the water. I will have a rope around me so that, like you say, to try and find the other hole is going to be difficult. So hopefully I can follow the rope. And I will have a doctor present as well. So if they need to resuscitate me or anything, they'll be able to do it there and then on the spot. So hopefully everything will be as clear cut as I can imagine. But I'll let you know when I've done it.
But you have to convince these people this is going to be okay. You're going to be okay, right? They're going to be above the ice. So
I'll have a diver in the water as well. Like that will be fully because obviously if we've got a cameraman as well, it'd be good to have film this as well. So I'm trying to get a documentary made out of it as well, because I think, and it's not just about what I'm doing, it's about raising awareness for people with mental health, because I think it's just not been looked into well enough anywhere. Like, and I think that, there's lots of things that have not scratched the surface of people that are suffering from mental health awareness. So I just want to bring that raise it to the bar to say, look, there are things that can happen. There's lots of great charities out there. They need help. So again, it should help them to raise some money for their charities to look into these things. But hopefully somehow it will connect with people that are struggling at the moment and just bring it to the awareness that, you're not alone. There are people that do care, and there are places you can get advice and you can get help. So that's the real meaning of everything.
And we appreciate your hard attitude with this. Am I thinking correctly? You're maybe 2 years out for this?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Two questions. Can we follow your progress? And whenever you set a date, can we know? And then my thought is, I came to mind as it just a few seconds ago. Would you have any problem if I were to post this on LinkedIn to just make people aware of what it is you're striving for? Many people can benefit from exactly the reason you're doing what you're doing. And this is what we collectively do together. Marty and I will never, ever do what you're doing, but we'll do it in our own warm way.
Yeah, I'd be delighted, and I think what I do is only possible with the likes of people like yourselves who promote it, look at things what I'm doing, understand what I'm trying to do, and also sometimes you might come up with the ideas to say, actually, have you thought about this? Which is, I'm always open to discussions with everyone globally. I've got many friends around the world that get involved in these type of things all the time. And it's amazing the power of communication. I think you said at the beginning, communication. Communication is a powerful tool if put in the right places. And I think we I say as humans can really make a world difference out there, which is I wish more people would do it.
And Andrew, we're totally aligned with you. I feel as if our values connect. We are here to advance other people, and we want to do everything we can to promote you, which I know your ultimate goal is to help others through whatever challenges they may be facing. Marty and I are just intrigued with what you're doing, what you have done, what you've got planned for the future. Our listeners I just feel, Andrew, would be willing to support you in any way that we can. We sincerely appreciate everything you have been through, what you have planned for the future. You've got a great life, and just thank you for everything you're doing.
Okay, well, thank you for having me on the show anyway. So, and your support means a lot. So thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. We appreciate you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
We appreciate having the opportunity to share our and our guests' life experiences with you.
The Cooper Culture advances organizations to achieve and sustain high retention rates, connected communication, and trust through personality insights and principled leadership. You can contact us at our website, thecooperculture.com, and you can contact us directly at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, at thecooperculture.com. We work with you to help assess aspects of your culture to advance the environment and people to their best performance. We do that through our staff of certified personal performance coaches, leadership trainers, keynote speakers, and DISC personality behavior experts. You can book a speaking engagement directly through our website by contacting us at ron@thecooperculture.com. We look forward to sharing our life experiences with you, some of which are profound, some of which are pretty funny. Some of those life experiences are ones we'll never do that again because we've been through stuff. We truly look forward to working with you, speaking with you, helping advance you in any way that we can.